There's a kind of silence that only shows up at the end of a life. Not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind, the kind filled with things you wish you had done differently. I remember a man named Daniel. He was 81 years old, and he had been my neighbor for nearly 25 years. Quiet man, always polite, always busy, even in retirement. He carried this restlessness about him, like he didn't know how to stop. The last time I saw him, he was sitting alone in his living room, holding an old photograph in his hands. His fingers trembled slightly as he stared at it. I sat down across from him, and for a while, neither of us said anything. Then he looked at me and said, very softly, "I missed it, all of it." At first, I didn't understand what he meant, but what he said next, it stayed with me. Daniel had two children, a son named Michael and a daughter named Lisa. He talked about them like they were still small, even though they were both in their 40s now. "I used to tell myself I was doing it for them," he said. "Every late night, every weekend I worked. I thought I was being a good father." He paused, looked back at the photo. It was a simple one. Two little kids sitting on a couch, smiling at the camera. Nothing special to anyone else, but to him, it was everything he had left. "I thought providing was enough," he continued. "I thought as long as they had a good house, good clothes, good schools, that was love." He let out a quiet breath. But I was wrong. Daniel worked most of his life, not because he loved it, but because, he was afraid not to, afraid of being broke, afraid of being seen as a failure, afraid his children would grow up without opportunities. So he chased stability, promotions, bigger paychecks, and every time life asked him to choose, he chose work. He missed Michael's first baseball game, missed Lisa's school play, where she had just one line and waited all night for him to hear it. "I told them I'd make it next time," he said. There was always a next time, but there wasn't. Those small moments didn't come back around. They passed quietly, and he wasn't there to see them go. He told me about a night he still couldn't forget. Lisa was about 8 years old. She had waited by the window for him to come home. She fell asleep on the couch, still wearing the dress she had picked out just for dinner with him. "I walked in late," he said, briefcase in my hand, tired, thinking about work the next day. "And I saw her there." His voice cracked, just a little. "I told myself I'd make it up to her." He shook his head slowly. "I never did." Years passed like that, one missed moment after another. And the strange thing is, it didn't feel like he was losing anything at the time. It felt like he was building something, a future, a better life, security. But what he didn't see was what it was costing him. By the time he slowed down, the house was quieter. The kids were older, independent, busy, with lives of their own. "They stopped needing me," he said. And after a pause, "Then they stopped calling as much. Not out of anger, not out of hate, just distance, the kind that builds slowly, over years." "I used to think we were close," Daniel said, "but we weren't, not really. I didn't know their favorite songs. I didn't know their friends. I didn't know who they were becoming." He looked down at the photo again. "I knew what I gave them. I just didn't realize what I didn't. Hmm. That's the part that hit me the hardest, because life doesn't take things away all at once. It takes them quietly, in moments you don't notice, until they're gone. Daniel told me that a few years before, he tried to reconnect. He called more, tried to visit, tried to ask questions. But it felt different, he said, like I was a guest in their lives, not a father. There was no anger in his voice, just acceptance, and maybe a little regret. He leaned back in his chair, eyes tired, but clear. "You know what the worst part is?" he asked me. I didn't answer. "They didn't need more money," he said. "They didn't need a bigger house. They didn't need all the things I gave them." He swallowed hard. They needed me. The room went quiet again after that, and I could see it in his face. That realization had come too late. Not completely too late, but late enough that it couldn't be undone. You can earn money back. You can rebuild a career. You can fix a lot of things in life. But you can't go back and sit in that chair at the school play. You can't rewind time and show up for that dinner. You can't relive a childhood once it's gone. Daniel knew that now. I kept telling myself I was doing the right thing, he said. I just didn't realize I was missing the only thing that actually mattered. A few days later, I went back to see him. He was weaker, breathing slower, but his mind was still there. The photograph was still in his hands. I sat beside him and he turned his head slightly toward me. "If you ever tell my story," he said quietly, "tell them this." I leaned in a little closer. "Don't wait." He closed his eyes for a moment and then added, "Don't wait for the right time. Don't wait until things settle down. Don't wait until you have more money or less stress." His voice was barely above a whisper now. "Because one day, you'll look back and realize the time you thought you had," he paused, "was the time you already lost." Those were some of the last clear words he spoke. Daniel passed away not long after that, quietly, just like he lived. But his story didn't leave with him. It stayed. It stayed in that empty chair across the table, in that photograph, in that silence. That only comes at the end. And maybe now, it stays with you too. So if there's someone in your life waiting for you to show up, don't wait. Because one day, you might be holding a memory in your hands, wishing you had been there when it was still real. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And if you want more stories like this, stories that remind us what truly matters before it's too late, subscribe to Life's Last Words